I don't have time anymore. And I'm like, wow, how are you going to learn how to use a computer? And we can like practice.
Alright.
I
guess it's technically afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's talk about Demo Day Live.
This is a presentation about
This is a presentation about presentations. Or presentations. What's that?
Do you make these slides?
I didn't make this slide. I don't know who found this GIF. I'm not even exactly sure what it's of or why it's on here. But look, isn't it funny? At this point, we're just going for levity at all costs. All right, so this should say Demo Day Live, actually not hiring day. Oh, wait. I thought I edited these slides more. No, it's on Monday. Here, wait.
He's not talking about hiring day.
I'm not talking about hiring day. I'm talking about Demo Day. I edited these slides, and then I failed to use the edited version. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, Demo Day Live specifically is on Monday. It is only kind of live, so we'll be screencasting the whole thing, and you'll present to whoever is there online. I think it usually gets like a few hundred people. I shouldn't say numbers because Mark will be mad at me if they're too small. But it's going to be presented online, and then recruiters and engineers and whoever else is coming to hiring day will watch it over the next few days before hiring day on Wednesday. So your presentations will be 4 minutes long, scripted. I hesitate to say that because you want to script it and then you kind of want to forget the script, but it's 4 minutes, so it's hard to do. But they're 4 minutes, they're scripted, and you accompany them with a screencast so nothing goes wrong during demo day. And then everyone on your team must speak for a significant amount of time, which is obviously not possible because it's 4 minutes. So everyone on your team should speak somewhat. Somewhere between like 20 seconds and 40 seconds, most likely. All right, so your presentation is the story of your project. You want to start by saying like who you are and like why you made this, or what you made, and why you made this thing. And the story of how you made the thing is, like, how did you decide on the idea? So what problem were you trying to solve? What problems did you encounter while trying to solve that first problem? So this is where you're like, everything was on fire, but it was okay because we learned a whole bunch and we, like, pulled through in the end. That's basically the story of every capstone project forever. And then what's next? Like, do you want to keep working on this? Like, what are features that you see in the future? Even if you're like, no, I never want to touch this thing ever again. Come up with something that you might like to do if there was like a parallel universe you that had to work on it. So like part of you split yourself and part of you is in hell. Then that part, what features would you be adding? I shouldn't say this. Like some people like go and add a ton of features and they're super excited about their project for the next month. And then like a little wrap up. Here's yeah. Here's all of us again. Thanks for coming. So when you introduce yourself, do this. Make it exactly like this. You should make sure to say your names and then the names of all your teammates, which I know can be hard under stress. Say the name of your app. And like just welcome everyone there. Yeah.
So this is for the live demo, right? So the screencast is not, is it going to have audio or not?
Good question. The screencast can have audio if your app has audio. I don't know if anyone's apps have audio, so no, you're not narrating on the screencast. You're saying the stuff live. And then there's usually not so much screencast with the intro, but like it's going on simultaneous to you talking about the project. So you kind of try and time it so it's like, okay, there's like a few seconds of your logo and then it starts walking through slides. It's okay if the timing is not completely on. So intro, welcome everyone. Probably you've got your logo up there. Maybe your app starts like doing its thing so people get a sense of what they can do in your app. And meanwhile, you're saying something like, "Hi, and thanks for joining us today. My name's Ashi, and these are my teammates, Emily and Allie. Emily. And we're the team behind the first and best app to provide evidence tampering as a service. Getaway-with.it." Okay, so you say those nice words, and then you tell them what you did. So what's your project? Importantly, what problem does it solve? Or if you're making a game or something, like what problem does it create? Which is like this is like what art does. Some projects are meant to be like engaging in some way without like solving a problem per se. But more importantly, like what was your motivation for creating it? What does it do? Like what are the big features you can sell people on? Not that this is a sales pitch. And then what are the most interesting features in terms of like you wanting to talk about them? Like what were like cool problems you ran into that you want to bring to their attention, given that you have like 1 minute to do this? So think about user flow. Like give us a sense of like, here's what happens when someone uses the app in the best possible scenario. Like here are all the things they can do. They can like collaborate on this trip. And then, and then talk about like how. Who is she pushing over?
I think it's like Goldie.
Okay. I was like, that's not Portia, is it? That would be okay. Yeah. So then go into how you build it. So when you're talking about like the process of building your app, you're trying to sell your technical capabilities. So talk about the challenges you encountered. Show diagrams if it clarifies things, which it always does. And you don't have to go like deep into the code and be like, this like little chunk of code was amazing and hard to write, and like we're going to talk about it now for 1 minute. That's something I might do, but don't do that. That's not a good idea. And talk about the higher level decisions you made. So like we did this for performance, we did this for scalability, or we did this because it would be easier to code, which is a very valid reason to do something, especially when you have like 2 weeks to work on something. Don't dwell on all the pieces that don't work. Every project has these. Like once you've been working with something, you can only see the ways that it's not what you had in mind, and that's okay. Nobody else can see them, or nobody else like a like vision of your project where they see like all the little tiny grains of sand. So zoom out, show people the big picture, let yourself see the big picture, and then thank everyone and run off stage and go get drunk. That's the flow of demo dev. Don't actually go get drunk immediately after your presentation. Do invite your audience to try your app on GitHub at the very end, or to try your app online. Like give them a link to download it, or give them a link to play with it, and then tell them where they can check out your code. Say how much you loved each other, even if it was kind of and then thank them and run away. That's where you get drunk. Okay, questions about the flow of the presentation? I am recording this. Yeah.
So if there's a lot of the backstory, how much time do you actually spend on it?
It's about, here, let's see. I figured out timings at one point. It's about a minute and change. Okay, so I think these timings make 4 minutes. So, let's see. The overview is a good place for like all the features, and then the story has some features, so you'll usually go into depth on 1 or 2 things that were challenging, which lets you show off more about that feature, and then also talk about the technical challenges. And obviously, if you have like more things that you want to show off, like you can change these timings a bit. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. All right, let's talk real fast about making screencasts. Okay, so we're doing a screencast because obviously, obviously nothing works right when you're trying to give a live demo. They're like terrifying, and so this way nothing will go wrong. Also, it means that like there are parts of any demo where you sort of just you get the gist and you want to speed things up, and you can do that with the screencast. You can fast forward. So to make up of the lack of realness, which is not such a big deal because most of the audience is watching this in like a Facebook Live window, so it feels just as real as any other video they're seeing. You'll have it deployed for them to try out. And I think everyone can deploy without issues. But if you have issues deploying, we should fix those before Monday. So an effective screencast feels like an actual use case of using your app. So it should have like content that is actually real and doesn't feel too much like a joke. You should have diagrams to visualize things when you're talking about them. So when you talk about your architecture, usually you have some diagram of like, here's all the pieces and how they fit together. There's also usually a slide of like, here's logos of all the technologies we used. I don't like that slide. You can have it if you want, but I just don't like it because I don't think it has much information. It's better to like, you can put those logos on the diagram of how the pieces fit together. You can use animations, don't go totally crazy with it, but you can use animations in Camtasia to like focus on a particular part of the screen where something interesting is happening, which can help like deal with the disorientation of looking at a screencast. And everyone will be overcome with joy. So after the presentation, we're not taking questions because there's like already a lot of projects and that would be just kind of crazy. You will probably get some questions during hiring day. And if those questions are obnoxious questions, you should find the nearest piece of glass and break it according to this slide, which sounds like a pretty soothing idea. But actually the advice is much less radical than that, and it's like, yeah.
Right. Who would be asking the question?
Like recruiters or engineers at hiring day. What's that? Not on demo day. This would be on hiring day. So maybe the slide should actually move to the hiring day brief. But as like general advice for being in a situation where someone asks you like, why doesn't your app support some stupid edge case that obviously it doesn't support? You worked on it for 2 weeks. That's a great question. We decided that that was something we definitely want to implement, but it just fell out of our priority queue. We needed to prioritize other features first. We plan to take it into account in the next phase of development. And then you walk away. You just turn and walk away and break some glass. Okay, so you're going to be rehearsing your presentation a whole bunch over the next few days. This says present 30 times before the big day. That's a lot. Like, but at least do come up with a script and like start doing run-throughs early so you can feel what it's like, and you don't have like you don't realize a couple of days before that you have 10 minutes of presentation and you have to chop it down. We have rehearsals scheduled, of course, so you'll get more feedback than that sooner. Much like during ideation, people will have a lot of opinions. Be like open to it and like iterate on your presentation as you receive criticism, and also give good criticism when you see other people's talks. Actually, watching each other's talks is a really good way to prepare, and also get ideas for your own presentation. We don't have microphones anymore, I'm gonna say. I think I'll check on this, but I think now the Oasis just like has so many microphones in it. It's like the most surveilled piece of real estate around here. That just can't be true. But I think we don't need a microphone that you're actually holding. Do try out rehearsing the Oasis at least once so that you can like figure out where the cameras are and know where to stand so you're not like running in front of each other and all that. Yeah. That's a good question because I don't actually know if there's enough room for everyone. So I think there will definitely be an audience, but I think it'll be like people who want to be there. So probably the next few teams will be in it. or the next several teams, and then instructors and other people, a few other people who want to come. But it might mostly be, because the Grace Hopper teams usually go in a block. I'm not sure how we're scheduling it this time, but usually we're in a block, so it'll probably be all y'all who are the audience, and then some full stackers. No. There we go. Arnold gives us advice for public speaking. So don't worry about the microphone. Speak deliberately. So there's a tendency to speak very fast, especially when hiring or demo day comes around and there's all this pressure and you just want to be doing anything but talking. But you have more time than you think. Like, take a deep breath. It'll be okay. Don't, like, try and face the crowd so that's more natural. Like, you don't want to be staring directly into the camera. And you should use the space that you have insofar as you have it. There's like a little, you have to be in mind. There's like a little box you have to stand in, otherwise the camera doesn't track you. So use some space, but not necessarily all of it. When you're out there not speaking, try and smile. Don't like go and hide behind the lectern. Probably the first comment you'll receive is like, so you're all huddled over on one corner, de-huddle. And have one person, especially if you have any parts of the video that you're worried about needing to time, have one person driving it so that basically just standing here being ready to hit the spacebar to pause and play. When you're talking about the project, B is better than I. When you're talking about the project at hiring day, I becomes better than we. But right now, we is better than I. Now we are communist. A little humor. Jokes, even if pretty stupid, are somewhat effective, so feel free to use it to loosen up the audience. And again, for hiring day, think about difficult questions. For demo day, nobody's asking any questions, so just focus on the flow of the presentation. So I don't use Camtasia when making live streams. I use a different thing, but Camtasia lets you edit the video and capture the video. So the new version has a watermark, like version 3, the unlicensed version has a watermark, but version 2, there's a trial which doesn't watermark its videos, and I bet that the way it determines your 30-day trial period is by looking at the date you install it. So if for some reason your computer thought it was 2099 when you install it, it might, work for the next 100 years. I'm just saying. I haven't tried it or anything, but I think that might be how it works. You can also use QuickTime or Open Broadcast Studio to record the screen, but you can't really edit the video in it. So I would do that if you know you like to use iMovie, or probably Final Cut would be a good choice if you're comfortable with it. So tips for making a screencast: fast forward through the boring parts. Anytime you're filling out a form, you can be typing at crazy inhuman speeds. Have one thing that we should be focusing on at a time. And part of this is don't have, make sure your windows fill the full screen and there's not distracting stuff on your desktop. Avoid having too much time where you're just standing there staring at a picture. If you have a diagram and you're talking about it, that's one thing. But if you have your logo on for the whole introduction, maybe you can be showing some screens from your app instead, or have something even kind of dumb clip art to illustrate what you're talking about. It can make it more fun to watch on a screen, because you're mostly going to be the little postage stamp. To some extent, we can flip between them, but I think for the most part, you're the little postage stamp and the presentation's taking the screen. Sorry about that. Mute your, go into do not disturb mode in your computer. Not that it matters, but while you're recording, if that's annoying, turn that on. Some people just go overboard with it, so you can chill on the animations a little bit, because they're very effective at drawing attention, which means they can be distracting too. be as creative as you can within this container of 4 minutes of terror. So you have gone through this whole process over the last few weeks. Like, this is our idea. It's awesome. We're super into it. This is like harder than I thought. Everything is on fire and I hate my life. I am terrible. This might be okay. And then what you want to be doing is like, wherever you are on this process, like drive yourself towards this is awesome and present from there. Like feel that rocket launching you into space to go to visit Mars. Be Elon Musk. That guy is so excited about everything, despite the fact that everyone thinks his business is about to fail. He's like, no, we're going to Mars. I'm going to be on the second rocket to Mars. Okay, so your priorities over the next few days are preparing and rehearsing your presentation, making sure your app is deployed and has a domain name. So if you need help registering a domain or pointing your app at it, IR the Fellows can help with that. Fixing any bugs that are like, our app doesn't work on any iPhone would be important. Bugs that are like, oh, this looks kind of glitchy, probably go deeper down the priority list. Tweaking your design so that like, mostly like use design where it intersects with usability. So like, oh, this thing is just like too tiny to be tapped on a phone and we're saying this is a phone app, or this thing just like takes up half the page. Those kinds of problems. Writing documentation and tests, and then refactoring, and then at the very bottom, even below non-critical bugs is like small bugs and then new features. So for the most part, 1 through 3 are what you're going to be doing. Any questions? Are you all excited? You're almost done. And then the champagne comes out, and then like all the most celebratory emoji. All right. No, it's definitely not actually champagne. And it feels like this. This is how it's going to feel on, honestly, probably on Wednesday, but there'll be some of this on Monday. And then on Friday, the real party happens.
You mean Thursday?
Right.
Hiring Day is Thursday.
Hiring Day is on Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what I mean. Sorry. Wait, hiring day is on Thursday and then demo day live is on Monday?
Yeah.
So I missed a staff meeting because I was running around fixing bugs, and so I didn't know these things. All right, good to know. Why do they have 4 days between demo day and hiring day? Unclear. Okay, well, good luck. That means you have even more time to prepare for hiring day, so that's good. I'm excited for all your presentations. All right. Aw. Thanks all of you for being incredible students.